Hi, everybody. David Nour. I want to welcome you back to another session on, I'm using Curvebenders Live to really talk about something very foundational, something very critical to your success, personally, professionally, as a team, as an organization, particularly in the post-pandemic world, right? So this is a live stream on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. I'm elated you're here. I would encourage you to jump in with questions, with comments that you may have. This session, I'm going to focus on getting business relationships right. As you may know, my first book was called Relationship Economics. Book number 10 was called Co-Create. And most recently, I published Curvebenders. And the common thread between my ideas in the last 2 decades has really been around this idea of how to be more intentional, how to be more strategic, how to be more quantifiable in the relationships you choose to invest in. So in this session, I want to talk about some of the challenges, almost like myths and misperceptions. I want to talk about what does getting business relationships right look like. I want to talk about some really actionable things you can do as we get beyond this pandemic and we look at more of we talk about hybrid work. What about this idea of hybrid relationships? Because I just got back from a coffee visit and it was a person that I had a Zoom meeting with last week, and we're both in town and we agreed that it'd make a lot of sense to meet in person. So how do you do that? How do you interact? How do you nurture some relationships that you may have begun digitally with others that you need to have in person, and vice versa? Relationships you've had in person, how do you translate those effectively to these little boxes that, what I call them, Hollywood squares, that we've been stuck in the last 14 months? So I would encourage you, again, jump in with questions, comments that you may have about business relationships and how to proactively nurture them, how to proactively manage them in the post-pandemic world. So let's start with myths and misperceptions. So I have a list that I want to go over. I want to talk to you about some of these, and I want you to add your own of what have you heard? What do you continue to hear that you believe that just doesn't sound right? That doesn't feel right when it comes to business relationships. So first one, I call less is more. So the perception is, the myth is, I need more. I need more contacts. I need more relationships. I need more touches. I just need more, right? So pre-pandemic, I saw us wrongfully or wrongly equate volume with quality, more touches with depth, more visits with meaning or authenticity. And make no mistake about it, we need a regular cadence. But the biggest myth that I want to bust, if you will, is I don't think you need more. I think you need more real. I think you need more authentic. I think you need more substantive relationships, not just sheer volume of them. So my first question, and again, I'm a realist, and I like to go down what I call the elevator ride. So theoretical, I can give you the theoretical constructs. I can talk about the application. I can talk about implementation. So if myth number one, or the insight number one, is less is more, one of the first exercises or action items I want you to think about is this idea of my top 100. If I were to ask you to make a list of your top 100 business relationships, who would be on that list? Who would you leave off that list? Who would you ensure that you didn't neglect? Who would you ensure that were really a priority for you to invest in and focus on? Because that's exactly what I did at the onset of this pandemic 14 plus months ago. I made a list of my top 100 business relationships, specifically what I call your ABCs. A, and by the way, no more than 30, right? 30, 35 at each of these. They may not all be equal, but sociologists tell us that an average individual can proactively manage about 100 to 150 relationships proactively. So you don't need more. You need more focus. You need more authentic. You need more real. You need more value-based. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So your first action item, could you make a list? And actually, I want you to work on this. Use a spreadsheet, use Google Sheet. I don't care how you do it. Export your contacts. I don't care how you do it. But start by making a list of your top 100 business relationships. And which leads me nicely to the second one. Immediacy does not equal impact. Let me say it again. Immediacy doesn't equal impact. So in thinking about that list of 100, most people make a list of relationships that are immediate within their purview. It could be your existing customers if you're in a sales or any kind of professional service, or it could be your immediate team if you think of internal relationships. It could be your immediate partners if you're in a collaborative environment and you work with a bunch of other people. In every one of those scenarios, the proximity, the immediacy of those relationships is kind of top of mind because you interact with them on a regular basis, and that's who's going to make your list first. What you're neglecting potentially are people that are beyond that purview, beyond that, right? Somebody who may be lower on your list of clients. So a client that you haven't touched base with in a while is doing some really interesting work. Or a prospect that you met at a conference, or that other department, other function, that other geography is doing some really interesting work. But because you're not in touch, you're not aware of the cool things they got going on. And the potential impact that you could create, as well as those that can create that impact in your life and in your work, are not immediately omnipresent. They're not on the forefront of your mind, right? So myth number one, less is more, or that's the insight. You don't need more. You actually need fewer. So the action item there was, can you create a top 100 business relationships? And specifically, I said A, B, C. A, who's most relevant to where you're going, what you're doing. B, the next. C, kind of the next, right? Immediate doesn't equal impact, if that's the myth. So the action item is, on that list of 100, who have you neglected during this pandemic? Who have you not done as good of a job staying in touch with? Who do you need to go back and rekindle? Who you got so busy with your priorities that you kind of forgot about them, or you let those relationships fade? You have to make sure that list of neglected, basically, relationships, make it on your 100 list. 3, I call this vibration versus forward motion. Again, vibration versus forward motion. And here's the premise. A lot of people pre-pandemic were very good at coffee meetings, lunch meetings, let's visit, all that. And they confused that busy work with, am I moving this relationship forward? Am I really building any real substance? Am I adding any real value to it over some period of time? So they confused vibration, all that busy work, with unique value add. And the action item from this one, number one, don't do that. Number two, on that same spreadsheet, right? We said, make a list of your top 100 business relationships. And I would, if I would give you a qualifier, it's based on depth and relevance. How well you know these folks, And how relevant are they in your journey from now to next? Let me say it again. Depth, how well do you know them? How long have you known them? Is this somebody you just met last week? Or is this somebody you've known for the last decade? And how relevant are they to your journey from now to next? Again, I'll come back to that one in a second. So based on depth and relevance, make a list of your top 100 relationships. You can further subcategorize them as A, B, or C if you want. The second point was immediacy doesn't equal impact. So don't confuse relationships you've left neglected. As a matter of fact, make sure some of those end up on the list. The third one is vibration versus formal or forward motion. I want you to create a column or create somewhere to capture their top 3 priorities, as well as the top 3 areas they're most relevant to you. So what we're talking about here is really relevance. Because on any given day, you could call, you could talk to, you could engage a lot of different people. My biggest supposition here is if you're going to thin that, if you're going to narrow that focus, if you're going to focus on fewer people, but real, authentic, you need to understand, number one, what are their top 3 priorities? What do they care about? Personally, professionally, what's top of mind? What's taking up a lot of calories? What's taking up a lot of effort on their radar? And what are the top 3 areas that be most relevant to you? You remember that journey from now to next, right? That said relevance. This is where it really comes in. What are these people doing? What are they involved in? What's really valuable in kind of what they're doing, how they're doing it, that you would make you want to prioritize interactions, investments with them. Number four is this idea of your journey. Your journey from now to next does not equal email. Your journey from now to next does not equal email. Let me explain. You sending an email to someone is highly transactional. Is it important? Yes, but it's transactional. How many emails do you get a day? How many emails do you receive a day? That's just part of what we do day in and day out, right? Very transactional. It just kind of part of what we need to do. Your journey from now to next, you should really think about that strategically. You should really think about that in terms of here's where I am today. Here's what's going well for me. Here's what I really enjoy doing. And I'm seeing a lot of people do this recalibration of their priorities, their values, things they enjoy doing with what they've experienced in the pandemic. And that lesser excitement in going back to the grind, lesser excitement in going back to all that you were doing since the pandemic, right? So we've learned how to work from home. We've learned how to be really creative, how to be productive, how to get stuff done. The idea of commuting, 1.5 to 3 hours to go back in and sit in a cube or an office is just not that exciting to a lot of people. And by the way, I like my bed. I like my wife. I like my dogs. If 2 PM, I want to have a late lunch with them, I want to be able to do that. And I'll come back to email later today. So your journey from now to next, here's the action item on that one, should fit on one page. Should fit on one page that has a unique formula that says, here's my brief bio. There's value and brevity, right? And that bio should ideally reinforce your top 3 brand attributes. What do you want people? How do you want people to describe you? How do you want them to talk about you? How do you want them to describe you to others? Hey, you should meet David Nour because he is boom, boom, boom. These 3 attributes You have to know what those are and what you want them to be. Because only when you focus on those, and most people can't remember more than 3, right? You can be proactive in reinforcing that brand equity and really driving, what brands do I want my name? And the logo on our business cards will change, but for most of us, our names remain the same, right? What attributes do I want associated with my name? So this one pager should have your bio, should have 3 brand attributes, should have either key roles or realms of responsibility that you are exploring. So here's my bio, my brand. Here's the kind of things that I'm after. Here's really what I want to go after. And at the bottom, leave them wanting more. So at the bottom of that, so if you think of a third, and a third, right? At the bottom, I want to summarize the key impact I've created in past roles, past projects, past initiatives, past realm responsibilities. So look at what I'm doing. Bio, I'm whetting their appetite. Brand attributes, right? Tenacity, compassionate leader, servant leader, bias for action. Whatever those brand attributes are for you, I'm whetting their appetite. In the middle, I'm like, ooh, having done that, these are the kinds of projects, initiatives, role, responsibilities. Here's what lights me up. The middle third of the page, that's right in the middle. That's what should really the focus be, is here are the things that are going to light me up, get me excited about what I'm doing. The bottom third is, okay, now I've told you what, right? Kind of what I'm about. I've told you kind of so what am I excited about? What am I looking for? What do I want to do? Now what is I want to build on the past success. I want to build on the impact I've created elsewhere. This format, third, a third, and a third, is really that one page, call it a bio, one page overview, one page kind of market value is another way I've described it to others. Basically, here's what I bring. Not to a job. You're not looking for a job. You may be, but for a job, most people use a resume or a traditional bio where I tell you about my background and paragraph. This is bullets. This is bullet points. And here's what you're doing. Number one, you're capturing that journey from now to next. Most people, if it is at all, it's in their heads. It's not captured. 2, and this really leads to our 5th kind of misperception, things that I want you to think about, is this idea of mutual value exchange does not equal what's in it for me. So number 5, mutual value exchange does not equal to only what's in it for me. There's a misperception that the only thing people care about is what can you do for me? I think that's a little cynical. I believe what they're looking for and how other people will prioritize their relationships is this mutual exchange of value. If I have something to sell, if I'm in consulting, I add value to you, I'm expecting to be compensated. If I'm an internal department function, if I add value to you, I want you to help me with one of my initiatives. So it's just this mutual exchange of information, access to broader relationships, helping me ask questions or things that I haven't thought of, help me get my project done faster, sooner, under budget, whatever the case may be. In every one of those, in a professional setting with knowledge workers, there's an exchange of value. That's really what's happening here. So when you create a one-page overview or one-page market value, you need ammunition. Think of that as ammunition to share with others, but should also become a list of questions that you ask other people about their journey, where they're going. What are they doing? What's of priority to them? What's of value to them? How can you help? How can you be an asset? And that mutual exchange of value, that's the lubricant. That's the rub. That's the ingredient most people need to not only take your calls, but also return your calls, prioritize you, reply back to your emails, right? Recommend you, refer you to others. Way too many people I meet today add to other people's plates, right? Let me tell you how you can help me. Here's what you could do for me. That's the whole what's in it for me. WIIFM, right? What they forget, what they neglect is that mutual exchange of value. How can you add value to my world? What's the reciprocity here? What are you doing to help me? Because we're all busy. We're all pulled in different directions. We all have demands on our time and our efforts and resources. So what's really important is you think about not just sharing your journey, not just creating that one page of what do you need most help? What are you trying to do? What's of great value to you? But also asking the right questions from those relationships to uncover how to become an asset to them, how to most help them, how to really add value to them. So let's just pause here and let's quickly recap. In getting business relationships right, and that was my intent for today, is kind of introduce you to this course we're building on the Nour Forum community, and this idea that, you know, if you invest, if you focus on, if you really double down on your biggest asset, which I believe is your portfolio of relationships, in the post-pandemic world, everybody talks about collaboration. Everybody talks about communication. Everybody talks about reigniting, rebuilding, nurturing relationships. I'm a really practical and hopefully pragmatic coach and advisor, and I've been thinking about these ideas for years. So what I thought I'd do in this session is share with you, again, 5 myths, misperceptions, as well as how to directly translate that into action items. And I want to make sure these nuggets are practical, they're pragmatic, they're focused, they're actionable, right? So number 1, I said less is more, right? And by the way, more doesn't equate to, doesn't mean better. You want more customers, you want more contacts, you want more relationships, you want more, right? Networking. Let's go do just all that stuff makes me just cringe, because more doesn't mean better. So what I coach people to think about is less is more. And the action item that I wanted you to focus on was, could you make a list of your top 100 business relationships? I spoke with a friend that I've known for almost a decade last week, and he was very candid. He said, I would struggle to make a list of 20. That's okay. That's okay. Start with 20. But make sure, again, based on depth and relevance, they are your most valuable relationships. They are your most impactful relationships. Which leads me to the second one. The second myth is immediacy doesn't equal impact. Immediacy doesn't equal impact. Your immediate pipeline, your immediate project plan, your immediate team, your immediate, whatever is in your immediate purview may or may not be your most impactful relationships. So what you want to do is you want to cast a wider net to make sure, think about those relationships you've left neglected. Think about the relationships that you haven't talked to in a while. Think about relationships that may not be in the same geography or may not be in the same industry or the same company or team or function. You know what I mean? That immediate, right? Your backyard, extend your purview beyond that, right? And the action item was, make sure a list of, I can easily come up with 10, Neglected relationships are plugged into that 100. And I gave you a subset of the 100. You could make them as A, B, or C. But who are the most valuable relationships that I need to make sure I touch base with? Number 3, vibration does not equal forward motion. Vibration does not equal forward motion. So what I said was, in your spreadsheet, you want to make sure you understand their top priorities as you interact with them, as you connect with them, as you speak with them, as you engage them. What are the top 3 priorities? It could be personal, it could be professional. But you want to know what's top of mind. You want to know what they care about most. You want to know, it's my kid is applying to the school. I need to grow my business. I got to finish this project. I need to, right? I'm trying to build some technology or transform our business. Whatever the case is. If you don't understand their top 3 strategic priorities, I'm trying to tell you, you're shooting in the dark. Similarly, you want to capture what are the top 3 things that they either, their knowledge, their experiences, their behaviors, their relationships, that is most relevant to you. You and I both know a lot of different people from a lot of, hopefully, different buckets in our lives. A lot of different, this person is in the insurance business. That person is in real estate. This person is in marketing function. That person is at a startup. This person is at a very large global enterprise. That person is in leadership development. This guy's in investor relations. We have buckets. This diverse buckets is really helpful to us. What you want to capture is, what are the 3 most relevant attributes, skills, knowledge, behavior, relationships? I need Scott because Scott is very knowledgeable in that space. I need Rod because Rod is very knowledgeable in that function. I need Susan because Susan knows the New York City market really well, as an example. But you got to think about the 3 most relevant attributes about that person when it comes to your world, your life, your work. Number 4, your journey from now to next does not equate to email, does not equal email. Email is transactional. You want to be strategic about where are you today, where are you going? What is that next best version of you? I wrote about this in Curve Benders. What does that look like? In 18 months, in 36 months, where are you going? How are you going to get there? And what I recommended for an action item here is a 1-pager. Create a 1-pager that's an overview. Create a 1-pager that's your current market value. Again, I wrote about this in Curve Benders. That's your, think of it as in thirds. The top third is your bio and some brand attributes, not things you make up, things that you actually can back up. So I like these bullet points with 1-liners, right? Tenacious, as an example. Compassionate, same thing, driven, empathetic, right? Bias for action, delivers on project results. Any and all of these attributes, brand attributes, if you can back them up, I would include 3 bullet points. That's the top third. Middle third, key roles, key responsibilities, key projects. What are you after? What can, in essence, the relationship do to help you? Most people want to help you. They don't know how to help you. They don't know how to be an asset to your efforts. So middle third, key roles, key responsibilities you're after. What are you exploring? What's of interest? What's of value? How can other people help you? Bottom third, summarize the impact you've created in other roles, other responsibilities. Here's the other thing I found, connecting the dots. You could share your bio and those brand attributes. You can share what you're looking for. Some people still may not make the connection, may not be able to connect. Scott's done these things. Here's what he's looking for. Who do I know that I can introduce Scott to? Sometimes that last third of where you've been impactful, where else have you done this? Where else have you achieved these types of outcomes? That's when the light bulb goes off. Oh my gosh, I was just talking to Beth over here and she has a problem that looks like Scott solved And why don't I introduce Scott and Beth together? That's exactly what you need. You want your relationships to connect the dots between what you bring and what others in their relationships are looking for. Seekers and solvers. So your action item from step 4 is then creating this one pager. The reason I say one pager is easy to send email. It's easier to print out and put in front of people. It's easier to take nuggets out of and share those with others. But the point is bullet points. People online are browsers, not readers. If it's paragraph upon paragraph upon paragraph, nobody's going to read the damn thing. So you got to keep it tight. You got to make it bullet points. You got to add value, which then leads to point number 5. Mutual value exchange does not equal what's in it for me. WIIFM. So that one pager should serve as ammunition to help others help you. It should also serve as a set of questions. Ideal if your action item is a list of questions you want to ask your business relationships. I've often asked my audiences, you know what everybody's favorite subject is? Yeah, themselves. So if you have a list of questions that likewise gets that same information, I want to know bio, I want to know brand attributes from the other person, I want to know their key pursuits, roles, responsibilities, opportunities, what are they exploring? And I want to know where they've been impactful before. Where else have they created impact before in their past jobs, in their past roles? Because that then gives me ammunition to likewise add value, that mutual exchange of value. I need that information to then be able to act on it. If you do these 5 things, I promise you, you'll be doing more than 90% of what the rest of the world does when it comes to being intentional and strategic about their business relationships. Number 2, you're going to start seeing a lot more results in terms of the impact from your interactions. Number 3, if you take this more disciplined approach to your relationships, they're going to see a new version of you that they may have not seen before. And they're going to ask you, yo, what's up? And I would submit through this pandemic, one of the things we learned, and one of the things that maybe we were forced to, is to focus on fewer relationships, but deeper, more meaningful relationships. So what I'm going to try to share my screen. And I hope you'll see, what you see is this is our community. This is our private forum called the Nour Forum. So if you just go to nourgroup.com/forum, nourgroup.com/forum, it will bring you into our Nour Forum community. And if you're not here, I would encourage you to sign up. I would encourage you to join us. There's no cost. And what we've done, you can see in the homepage, there's all kinds of discussions. I share, daily kind of nuggets, new nuggets. Amanda's our community manager. She's asking people what they're working on. And it's awesome that people are jumping in. So there's a proactive, all kinds of good discussions that are going on. I had Michael Watkins of the First 90 Days Fame as my guest on a LinkedIn Live today. So there's all kinds of unique content, resources, events, discussions that are going on. And what I really want to point out is, and you can look at these things on your own, we have all kinds of unique events that are going on a regular basis. But what I really want to highlight for you is also courses. Some really interesting micro learning opportunities we're building. So this is Curve Benders for project management professionals. What I'm really excited about is this next one, getting business relationships right. And as you can see, there is, you're not going to be able to see it. There's actually an overview, but you can see that there's sections and lessons that I'm turning on live that reinforces a lot of what we talked about today. And this is just one of several courses that we're building that we're going to take live over the next several weeks and months. So I hope this has been useful to you. I hope this has been valuable for you. I hope you'll come back and come join us in the Nour Forum community to continue discussions. But the Getting Business Relationship Right course, it's got 3 fundamental sections. It's got several lessons in each section. It's a combination of reading, combination of videos, combination of asking you questions and exercises. The other thing is I'm there on a daily basis, and you're joining a community of like-minded professionals that are going to talk about strategic relationships and how to really leverage hybrid relationships in this post-pandemic world. So on behalf of our community, thanks for joining us. I hope this has been useful to you. I hope this is helpful to you. Come join us, nourgroup.com/forum. Come jump in with questions, comments. Come learn from Getting Business Relationships Right course. $97 the course. You have unlimited access to me there. We've got about 2,500 people that are in the community. Come be a part of this movement we're building, which is really nonlinear growth for business professionals. My name is David Nour. I'm the author of Relationship Economics, Co-Create, most recently Curve Benders. I look forward to seeing you in the Nour Forum community. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.